Hello and welcome to PlayStation Grenade. Since Season 5 began, I've received a ton of myths from you guys to chase. So I've listed the 20 most requested and we're gonna fly through those today. So sit your butt down for 10 minutes, slap code ADAMARU in the store for 99% more dad jokes in 2021, enjoy your Christmas, and let's bust some myths. Let's start with something Christmassy. The snowmen returned to Fortnite for the holiday period. Many people wanted to know what happens when you jump into the 0 point dressed as a snowman. The myth goes if you jump through here, we'll somehow become Snowmando. Kinda like what happened when Jonesy and his banana went through a rift. Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's do this! Okay, not a big outcome. The snowman simply breaks on entry and the player continues through the Nexus as normal. I thought the next best thing to do would be to throw a snowman on top of the 0 point. But something happened that I wasn't expecting. Check this. The item never technically lands and instead goes into this rotating falling motion. It's cool to look at, but sadly this is another busted myth. We have loads of 0 point myths to cover in this episode, and here's another Christmas one. What happens when a present is thrown into the 0 point? Right away I'm thinking it will act the same as the snowman did, sort of rotating and falling away. Well, technically I was right, it actually hits the 0 point and bounces off. But something very strange happened. If it bounces far enough away from the orb, it will actually reappear on top of the sphere for a split second. There you go, it's beautiful. My Discord and I spent 3 hours trying different myths in private matches, and we found one that's quite interesting. Check this myth. If a player jumps through the 0 point with a clinger attached, they will not be harmed. This has to be too good to be true, right? Well, we tested it. We chose a victim and attached explosives, and to our surprise, it's true. The 0 point negates the effect of the clinger and removes it from the character. They don't take damage whilst inside the sphere. So if you ever get hit with the clinger, quickly build all the way up to the 0 point and jump through. Easy claps. Okay, let's break from 0 point myths for a while. Here's the next one. The NPCs and IO troops have secret unreleased gliders. Well, how could I resist this myth? The community found a rift fish and overwhelmed Mando, allowing me to get close enough to rift him away. I accidentally took half the lobby with me, but we certainly got the Mandalorian in the air. And after a little floating around, we saw his glider. And well, it's only the default glider. Rip the dream. We tested this on other NPCs and IO troops too, and sadly, it looks like all NPCs have the default glider and nothing secretive at all. Something interesting did happen during these tests. Depending on where the Mandalorian is when we rift him, he will always go back to the original crash site. He always goes back home. I thought that was a little cool touch. Our next myth asks if we can cancel the IO troops elevator from rising out of the ground by simply landing on them first. Sounds like a plan, Batman, and another super easy one to test. We dived straight down in a squad game and landed where we knew an elevator was. To our surprise, that lift function still works and bounces us all into the air. The only problem you've got now is that you're trapped with no weapons around the aimbot IO commandos. Another regular myth I'm asked is regarding NPCs for hire and if they will use the 0 point and regain health. You'd think this would be easy to test, right? Simply hire an NPC and then build up to the 0 point and jump in. Well, it can be a little bit more difficult as the NPCs aren't the brightest in the world and sometimes they'll jump off the ramp, sometimes they'll turn back round and run back down again. In the end, we made a bridge and shot it out just underneath the NPC to test this, and voila! Myth chased, NPCs can indeed use the 0 point and are healed too, which is useful, I guess. This next myth is brilliant. Who will win in a fight between Mando and the IO troops? This is the perfect amount of epic. Right now in game, Mando can spawn a little further west than the Colosseum. And if you're lucky enough, the IO troops can spawn at Risky Reels. Getting them together is a pain in the butt. The plan was to aggro Mando and then move slightly out of sight so he slowly followed behind me. I did this all the way until reaching Risky Reels, where I then aggroed the IO troops too. Then my job was simple. It was to stay out of sight until they forgot about me and started to engage each other. And then suddenly, it happened! The IO troops moved upstairs to have the high ground advantage over Mando, but then committed a rookie mistake by leaving that high ground and being caught in a doorway face to face with the Mandalorian and his Beskar steel armor. Mando is tough to beat mono a mono, and after a spirited performance, IO was defeated. Impressive work from the Mandalorian. So if anyone asks who's stronger, a unit of IO commandos or Din Djarin, you now know. Next myth, back to the 0 point. If a knocked player enters the 0 point, they will be revived. This sounds epic. Like usual, the Discord fam came to help me, and here's what actually happens. The knocked player lands on the 0 point, but to our surprise, nothing else. They stay on top. They can crawl around to their heart's content. It's super strange, isn't it? Well, here's something even stranger. If another person uses the 0 point whilst that knocked player is on top, this happens. They begin to fall through the sphere, but the animation doesn't complete. They glitch around within the sphere until they are spat away from the orb and smash into 1,000 pieces. We appreciate your sacrifice. We also tried this whilst carrying a knocked player, and the same thing happens. The 0 point does not open and we are left standing on top, admiring the view. So another busted myth. Here's a perfectly strange myth. A shark can travel through the 0 point. What are you thinking? There's not a chance, is there? We know that cars and other vehicles can't travel through the orb, yet we know items like the Klinger grenades can. So let's try this. This myth was so tough to do. Firstly, there's not that many sharks around anymore, and they don't seem to like fall damage very much. But that's not the hard part. The real issue was getting the shark to the top of the ramp. The shark naturally loses speed going up the ramp, so to boost this, we reattach the line. This works, but the shark always bites down the moment the fishing line connects. And this led to so many times the ramp breaking underneath us. But you don't want to see our struggles, do you? You just want to cut to the end, I understand. As the shark reaches the 0 point, it completely stops. It's mesmerized by the bright twinkly lights. What do you think it's thinking? I reckon it's saying, dude, I love Fortnite. To make it move again, we actually have to reattach the line one more time. This time, as the shark moves into the orb, it automatically deflects around the side and falls to the ground. The person being carried though can still enter the 0 point, and for a short time the fishing line to the shark will stay in place, but ultimately it'll snap. This shows us the shark is effectively another vehicle. Oh yeah, in fact there is another myth here. What happens when a plane goes through the 0 point? Nothing. It hits it just like the other vehicles and throws out the passengers inside. And finally, what happens when a junk rift hits the 0 point? I thought this was going to be another epic gamer moment, but this actually happens. The rift travels through the orb without any reaction and crushes everyone on the ground underneath. Still looks pretty cool though. I tried this with a Porta Fortress 2, and although the item bounced away from the orb, it did build over the 0 point. Again, I was impressed, but then realised this was due to the ramp I used to climb up, and by knocking down that ramp, it also made the 0 point fort fall too. Oh, we need one more. Number 20. The Dragon Breath shotgun can light campfires, did you know? I have no idea why this is a thing, but it is incendiary, so it does make sense. So hopefully that's useful to someone. And now I'm thinking about trying this with the sniper rifle version too. So there we have it, 20 myths in super quick time. Thanks to everyone who watches these videos and takes part in these meetups on my Discord. And a huge thank you to those kind enough to use code ADAMARU in the store. On screen now are more legends who rock my code. Thank you for choosing me. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade. It's been a pleasure. Have a good Christmas. See you next time.